With me is Laurens Wapenaar, Product Manager at FinDock. And my name is Klaas Koistra, also Product Manager at FinDock. And we will be talking about the November 23 release today that will go out to production on November 26th. However, all the changes that we are going to talk about today are already in your sandbox environments and ready to test. If you want to keep up to date on the release, go to status.findock.com for updates on when the release goes out. We have a lot to cover today, and we're going to start with talking about Sweden. After that, we have a demo planned around FinDock for fundraising. And to conclude this webinar, we want to highlight a couple of other bugs and enhancements that we fixed with this release, including gift aid postal code enhancements. But before we get started, we would like to give you an update on our pilots. Now, this slide is a forward-looking statement and there might be changes coming, but currently we are very happy to announce that the BGMax payment method for the Spanish market has been declared GA with this release. We've been testing it with several customers over the last release, which we are very thankful for. So if you're in the call, thank you for helping us test and validate that the feature works as designed. And it's now available for everybody as part of our product. Other pilots remain in their current phase, where we're launching two new pilots. One is the one we're talking about today, which is FinDock for fundraising. And secondly, we are launching our Sweden pilot. And let's get started with the last one. So, as last time shortly mentioned, FinDock will launch a pilot in Sweden with this release. And the Swedish market is a very interesting market. So Sweden has a direct debit schema, which is called Giro, which is operated by Giro, and it's used by almost all adults in Sweden to pay their recurring bills and invoices. There's roughly 600 billion krona per year processed. And secondly, Swish is the default and leading online payment method that's used by 99% of Swedes to pay bills between each other, but also make donations and make payments. That's only a one-time payment method, and it's processing around 400 billion krona per year. And for us, this meant that there is an opportunity here to enter Sweden, which will be a phased approach. But our solution covers three parts. So one is the Giro direct debit solution, which we are currently working on and is not part yet of this release, but we intend to add support to easily set up and collect Giro payments using FinDock. We will be integrating that natively with Giro as a service bureau. Secondly, we want to add support for Swish as a one-time payment method to quickly take one-time payments, either for an invoice or a donation. And also here, FinDock is proud to announce that we will be doing that in cooperation with Swish as a technical partner. Now, for this release, we're taking the first step, where we're adding a payment method that's called Giro to generate OCR references. And secondly, we're adding our first steps into reconciling your bank statements in Sweden with the respective standards. Now, what does that look like for this release? We've added a payment method which is called Giro, which helps you easily generate OCR references that you can use to collect payments. Similarly to other countries, Sweden has a reference that you can use to easily pay invoices and match against. And FinDock offers a bespoke solution where you can easily and quickly generate those references for your different Giro numbers, which makes a smooth payment collection. And secondly, we've added support for the BGMax file format from Giro inbetalingen, which allows you to easily reconcile your bank statements by uploading them into Salesforce and leveraging guided matching to automatically find the right payments that are open and reconcile the incoming money for that. If you're interested in joining this closed pilot, do not hesitate to reach out to us either to support@findock.com or reach out to me directly and we can see if there's a fit for you to join the pilot. This is our first phase in a multi-release approach, and we are very excited on what's still to come for Sweden, but more on that in later release webinars. Next topic is FinDock for fundraising, and for that I'll hand it over to Laurens Wapenaar to tell us a lot more about that.
Let's start with the broader story. Salesforce, of course, had a fundraising solution, a nonprofit solution in a nonprofit success pack, which will be will be out of innovation. And instead of that, they have built a completely new solution on the Salesforce core platform called Nonprofit Cloud. And with the winter release of Salesforce, they have added a fundraising module to that. And since we integrate with the Nonprofit Success Pack on fundraising features, we have also done the same for the new Nonprofit Cloud. There are a lot of difference between the old NPSP and the new NPC/fundraising features. I've highlighted a couple that are most relevant for FinDock for getting your donations collected. And these are the ones that I'd like to discuss. First, they have changed how payers work in this new system. In NPSP, it used to be primarily contact-based, especially for individual donors. And in the new Nonprofit Cloud, you always require an account. And for individual donors, that means using person accounts instead of contacts. You can still use a contact, but we'll talk a bit about what that means later. The second big change is that the objects have changed, of course. The objects are now part of the Salesforce core data model instead of in a separate package to be installed. But they have split the recurring donation into two objects. And this requires some additional configuration from the FinDock end, which we've handled for you. The third thing that's definitely relevant in the first phase is that the campaign performance features have changed. You used to have a campaign with multiple campaigns in a hierarchy. So a campaign underneath a campaign underneath a campaign, and a campaign member. And this has been changed to use campaigns and source codes. So what is a person account? First, it's good to understand that Salesforce proposes 3 ways to model a person in Nonprofit Cloud. You've got the old business model set up where you have an account and still a contact, but the account will be related to the donation records. You have a person account, so that's an individual donor that can be related to donation records, and then in some very specific cases, you could have a person account integrated in a household. We focus mainly on the first two. The third one can be modeled, but that's usually something that's done when you know a donor and their family well. So what is a person account? The easiest way to understand the person account is that it's an account record type that includes the fields from contact. Now, since these fields from contact are included in the account object, that also means something for how you're expected to call our API and the things you can do with a giving page. We've built support for, we had support for already to pass custom fields, and you can still do that, but there are some things to be mindful of. For instance, if you would like to pass a custom field from the contact to the person account record, you need to append it with PC instead of a C. This is just an example of the things you need to look at. If you just go to the object manager, you will find the right notations or the right field names to use in the API. And the most important part to remember is that you will need to specify which record type you use for account, because that's the thing that indicates whether you want to create a personal account or a business account. The second change around the data model, you used to have opportunities for one-time donations and recurring donations for, well, recurring donations. That has changed to be gift transactions for one-time donations and gift commitments for recurring donations. The opportunity still exists in the model, but more in the sales kind of opportunity, where you see a potential opportunity to get a major gift or a grant in, which basically means it's out of scope for FinDock. We focus on the recurring or the gift commitment and the gift transaction. Now, like I said, the recurring object has been split into two objects. You have the base object, the gift commitment, that contains a couple of static fields. And then you have the gift commitment schedule, which contains the most important fields for donation collection. Things like the frequency of the donation, the amount of the donation, and there's also the FinDock fields like payment method and processor can now be found on the gift commitment schedule. And this was done to increase the flexibility of how to handle these donations. So in case you want to upgrade it, you can simply create a new schedule in the future with the start date on when you want the change to happen. We've added support for these two objects in both our API and giving pages, but I'll show in my demo what that means for us. The short thing to remember is you can still pass all your fields to all the relevant objects. Now, the last part is the campaigns and the source codes. So campaign member isn't used out of the box anymore in MPC fundraising, at least that's what Salesforce is going for. And instead of having a campaign hierarchy with multiple campaigns linked to each other, you now have one campaign that can have multiple source codes. And this means that source code is also going to be often the identifier around campaigns that customers will need to pass to Salesforce to group commitments or transactions into logical areas or focus segments, or however you want to split up your campaigns. Of course, this is also possible with FinDock, and I'll show how. So onto our demo. What I'd like to show you is a regular online donation through giving pages. Of course, for everything we're doing here in giving pages, you could simply just use our API, since giving pages implements our API. But when we look at the first section, it's good to note that here we map our outreach source code. So this source code, Save the Rhino tool, is part of this campaign, the Rhino campaign, which basically groups all the donations made through this specific giving page to this source code. Now, what you can also do is pass additional fields and additional data to objects like the gift commitment. But like I said, the recurring donation is now 2 records. So there's also the gift commitment schedule, which is no problem, since you can also select all the fields from the gift commitment schedule here, and FinDock will automatically map them to the right fields. In this case, we've chosen gift vehicle type, but you can imagine anything here, all standard fields by Salesforce, but also all the custom fields that you might add to any of these 2 objects. So let's look what that looks like and go to our page. Let's first create a quick one-time donation. And let's use Stripe credit card for this. I've already entered my details here, so I can simply click pay to pay this donation. and we're done with our donation. Now, if we look at Salesforce and what that looks like, we can find this donation as a gift transaction, of course also an installment, but as a gift transaction in our environment. So here's our donation. You have the gift transaction record. It contains a donor, in this case, a person account. And it includes our R3 source code that we selected and the campaign that we selected, but also the amount. And as you can, our payment method that we added as FinDock. And then here you can see that the status of this gift transaction is also paid. So everything we did was we made the donation, we updated the data in Nonprofit Cloud by creating this gift transaction, and we've updated the status to collect it. Now the way we made sure that we created the person account here is that on the personal details page of our giving page, we've selected the right record type. We've used the record type ID here, and this is the record type ID of a person account record type. And by simply doing this, and then passing the contact fields that are also available on account, we've created a person account, and which is what fundraising requires of us. We can, if we want to add more fields here, we can simply add them, select account, and here you will find all the fields from account, but also all the fields from contact, since we are using a person account here. Now let's see what it looks like for a recurring donation quickly. So let's go back to our page, select monthly donation, enter our details quickly. Again, let's use credit card, but of course we could use any payment method that Stripe supports. Save our card and look to see what we now see in Salesforce. For recurring donation, we go to gift commitments. And as you can see, it will take a little bit of time. A new donation should be created. And here we have a gift commitment, and this gift commitment contains some details. So the donor is on the gift commitment record. It has a status. It could have an opportunity and a campaign. But as you can see, this is about all the fields that are on the gift commitment. All the other fields, including the data that fills this fulfillment information section, is not on the gift commitment itself, but on the related gift commitment schedule. As you can see here, if we open this button and manage our gift commitment schedules, you can here see the transaction period, which is the frequency, the amount, our payment method and processor, and all the related fields. And if we want to change something here, we could do that, change the payment method and things like that, and set the start date for when we want these changes to be effective. This allows for a lot more flexible handling of changes to recurring donations while keeping the history and without having to do them immediately, affecting ongoing payment collection. One thing to note is that the view you see here, and that view will be the view that your users will see, also when they press any of these other buttons, like upgrade and downgrade, is a flow screen. And this has some implications to how to implement FinDock that we'll talk about a bit after the demo. Now, next to the gift commitment schedule, Salesforce has automatically created the gift transaction. And this one has been paid immediately. But if we take another one, let's take this one with an unpaid transaction for the 15 euros. So this is the one we just created. We can also, well, we can simply run our payment schedule every month to collect this, but similar to with MPSP, we've also added our motor functionality here, to which we could, for instance, use to collect this payment. Now, the card we have for this donor is already stored, so all we have to do here is press take payment to get this transaction collected. So similar to MPSP, all our features that we currently have will be supported with on-Profit Cloud. Now, I talked a little bit about screen flows. There is one big downside to screen flows, and that's that they are slightly different than layouts. So previously with MPSP, you could simply drag the FinDoc fields on the layout, and you would basically be done with at least getting our fields in the right place. With screen flows, the only way to do this is to clone the flow, add the fields to the right screen, and then map the data to the right variables to do this. Now, we understand that this is a bit, maybe a lot more complex than just adding a layout. And not only that, once you've cloned this flow and saved it and use it in your processes, it can't be upgraded anymore by Salesforce. So if Salesforce releases a new version, the changes won't be applied automatically. And if FinDoc does the same, we can't upgrade your cloned flow. And to solve this a little bit, we have not added these flows to the product, because we expect everybody to at least customize these by cloning their flows. But what we have done is we've added them to FinDoc Labs. And what FinDoc Labs is in this case, it's a GitHub repository, which includes all the flows with the FinDoc fields. And it has a button that you can press, and then the flows and supporting Lightning Web Components, and some of the actions that you see at the top of the gift transaction and the gift commitment schedule will also be immediately deployed to your environment, and provided unmanaged, so you can edit these directly. Now, you can also simply just edit the flows, and for that we've provided instructions on our documentation website. But to speed up at least your first implementation, or maybe you've created the demo environment where you want to work with FinDoc, we've provided this FinDoc Labs project, so you can simply press the button to get everything that you need. We've talked a bit about support for giving pages and Moto. We are per release adding support for more FinDoc features. Our main features like syncing one-time and recurring donations, doing payments through the API, bank statement import, guided matching, giving pages and pay links, Moto, gift date are already supported with this release. And in the coming release, we aim to add support for our payment request generator, the quick ticket component, and the manual entry component for Go Cardless. And what's good to know is that there are some fundraising features that haven't been included yet, that we are investigating for potential future releases. Now, how can you get your hands on this? If you work in a sandbox, a scratch org, or a developer edition, which we definitely recommend, you can simply go to installer.findoc.com and follow the regular installation process. For this new FinDoc for Fundraising package, with of course the latest version of FinDoc Core. If you want to work in a production environment or an enterprise trial before our production release, please contact us so we can help you get these things installed. Once this November release has been released to production, you can also simply follow the installer for these environments as well. Important to note, person accounts need to be enabled in this environment, and fundraising, the Salesforce feature fundraising need to be enabled so that the objects are present in your environment. If you want to learn more about non-profit cloud and FinDoc for fundraising, we've got a couple of resources that you can use. There's a blog available on our website about how we extend the non-profit cloud for fundraising. There's a webinar that you can view by Peter and Dan. And of course, we've got documentation on how to configure FinDock for fundraising, what objects are used, how everything works together on our documentation website. And our API reference has been updated to include specific instructions on how to use, for instance, person accounts and how to map fields to the two recurring objects, give commitment and give commitment schedule. In the future, we're looking to also add content to the FinDock Academy. But since we are in an early pilot phase, that isn't made available yet. So that's what we want to talk about around FinDock for fundraising. And now it's back to Klaas to talk about gift aid.
Thanks, Lawrence. And great to see that we have full coverage in our first release pilot ready. Now, I wanted to mention two more things. If you get started and have feedback, definitely reach out to us because we're very eager to hear your feedback on actually implementing FinDock with the new fundraising features. So do not hesitate to reach out through your regular contacts. Now, to close off the webinar, I have three themes I still want to talk about. First up is gift aid. Now, gift aid, as some of you know, is a way to claim a tax rebate in the UK, and we have native support for gift aid. But there was something that could get some enhancements, specifically around postal codes. So prior to this release, when you submitted a payment, either a gift aid declaration to the API or through our giving pages, you could enter a postal code, for example, GL12EG, and then if a customer made a typo, it would be put on the gift aid declaration without capitals and a space, which then when you wanted to submit the gift aid claim to HMRC would result in a failure in your payment schedule because the postal code was not according to the specific format, which requires then for you to go into the gift aid declaration and perform a manual action to unblock your gift aid schedule, which is very frustrating. With this release, we added through our giving pages and the API a way for us to automatically format UK postcodes by adding the space and capitalizing the postal code, which, if there is a valid postal code present, will result in a lot less errors in the gift aid schedule and would make your process a lot smoother if you use the out-of-the-box FinDock tooling. This doesn't impact any manual creation of gift aid declarations. So if you have your own process in place there, that's unaffected. But if you use our giving pages and the API, it just simply becomes a lot easier to perform your gift aid processes. On to the other bugs and enhancements that are in this release. There's a lot more to talk about, which you can all find in our release notes. We've listed all the enhancements, at least the titles, on the next two slides. There's one thing I wanted to highlight for customers that use Ideal. With this release, we added support for 3 new issuers that were part of the that were added to the Ideal scheme, namely N26, Nationale Nederlanden, and YourSafe, and they should be automatically available on your giving pages and in the API. And then there are some other changes around PayPal and SaferPay, and specifically also on Bucks Direct Debit payment submission that you can read more details on in our release notes. Now, 2 releases ago, we introduced, next to our knowledge base, the Academy, and we've seen great feedback on that, and the usage has been above our expectations, which is great, and we're continuously adding new courses. So with this release, we added a new payment introduction course around the payment landscape, which you can follow if you are either want to take a quick course with a limited scope, or if you don't have the time to go to our partner training and spend a full 2 days. We're continuously adding courses, and there's a lot more to come. So definitely, if you're interested and have a look around, sign up with your email at academy.findock.com, and you can explore all the content that we have available. Now, next to our academy, we also have our regular documentation, where with this release, we also made a lot of improvements, especially around the payments requests section, where we have been a bit more clear on the category of payment request and what that entails and how you can leverage payments request in your processes. And secondly, we made a summary of all the native payment methods that we support as FinDock, and on top of that, with adding Sweden, we have a specific Nordic payments category as well, where all the information for our Nordic customers is grouped as well. There's a lot more to come, especially on the Academy side, so definitely go check that out. As I said, if you want to read more, everything we just talked about can be found on our release notes and our documentation website. So go check that out. And if you want to stay in the loop and haven't done so already, you can also here sign up for our release communications if you want to get here the next time as well. That's it from our side. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. We'll stick around. And thank you for joining.